Get off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pei.
And welcome. You're tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, NBC News, CNBC News, and NBC Sports Radio Station, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, iTunes, TuneIn, Audible, Amazon, Tiki Live, Rumble, Podchaser, Spreaker, and more. Why so many places? Because I want to maximize my splatter zone for more hope and happiness to balance out all of the bad news out there. If you'll notice, there's no headlines here, only heart lines, because you can get those negative news. If it bleeds, it leads anywhere else. But only here can you get topics and guests and co-hosts and series that help you be happy 88% of the time. And as you can tell from the gorgeous man in my studio live today, it is that time of the week. It is Straight Talk with myself and
James Hawthorn. Hi, everybody. Good morning.
Welcome back to the studio. He is from the, I can't believe I found the clip, and you, like, I usually delete because I have so much stuff on my phone, but I still had that shot of you on stage, which I thought was so cool at the Flicks for Change film festival, which is how I met my fabulous co-host every other Friday. And he and Andrew Steele were the founders of this really great film festival. And then he did as much as he wanted to do with that or could do with that, and focused on two things: training, and he's always threatening to get me in shape. Although I do the best that I can. I'm not, as fit probably, well, I know, as he wants me to be, but I was in on the bike and in the pool, and I cut it really close this morning. So he saw me do my makeup in literally 40 seconds. So
among your many talents, and let's also not forget the fact you're out there sailing every Wednesday, taking
That's
kids
true.
out sailing.
Thank
So
you.
You're in pretty good shape if you're on that boat and not falling into the Santa Monica Bay. So you must be doing something right there, huh?
Absolutely. I try. And he's also an actor extraordinaire. He's sharing his cute mug on the camera, and we're just doing this. I don't know if you've heard yet, but I'll wait till the breakfast sandwich. We like to start every show with breakfast. And so you're going to have breakfast with my co-host and I. If you are not driving, please do join us in the chat and put down things that you're grateful for, which is the top of the bun, and then things that you appreciate about yourself, gratitude turn inwards, on the bottom of the bun, because I like it on the bottom. So it's always Friday. I can be a little naughty. But what are you grateful for, James?
I'm grateful for forgiving clients. I have a client that I see 7 a.m. and we train at a few different locations, and I went to the wrong location today. So by the time I finally got to where we were supposed to work out, this isn't the best promo for my business, but this was the first time I screwed up one of the 3 locations. And we started about 20 minutes late, and he says, I get it. And I said, it's a wonder I could tie my shoes this morning. But and then I got stuck in the parking garage at the facility. The ticket wouldn't go through. So I thought I was going to be the one rushing to, be ready for this. But normally I would wear something a little bit sexy or nicer. But I came straight from the gym, and go Dodgers. Baseball season's upon us. So thank you to my dear friend and client for giving me a little grace this morning when I was waiting for him at the wrong gym.
Well, I don't know if it's not appropriate wear. You are my Dodgers. What is that?
Liaison.
Nope, nope. The when you introduce, you're the not MC. You're the host. You're the anyways mentor. You're kind of my Dodger mentor, to be honest, because
Or to go with another French word, concierge. I'm your
that's
Dodgers
the one I was
concierge.
looking for. That's exactly what I was looking for. Yeah. So I'm grateful that I have 2 bobbleheads, thanks to James, sitting on top of my fridge from my new love hashtag Go Dodgers. And I did it. I knew a little bit because of my bonus mom and dad, but I definitely know way more maybe than I wanted to know about the Dodgers and baseball.
My real calling, as much as I love hosting this show with you, is I would love to do a vlog podcast. I would love to cover the Dodgers in any way they would let me. Oh my God, talk about a dream job. I'm going to put that out there into the universe.
Yeah. There's no reason why you can't start doing that and put a demo reel together. Next time there's a game, go live,
I
on
should, absolutely.
right on the show. We have this platform. So you're welcome to do that on my channel.
I should learn from the OG multi-hyphenate here. Master of all. They say jack of all trades, master of none. Here we're with Dr. Marissa, the master of all. You've lived 10 lifetimes in a life with all the things that you do and the exciting world travels, going all over the world, talking about your books and performing your services as a organizational psychologist. I love it. I dig it.
Oh, thank you. That was unexpected. Nice. I receive. And I am grateful for all the people who are in service organizations, which is like almost everyone is in the service organization. But I just want to spotlight again those who help us during emergencies, and certainly the fires, not to forget that there's still people rebuilding right now and sending them, really good vibes out there. I have, through my bonus family, a great nephew who was on TV for the fires, and I wanted to have him on the show, but they have specific rules about the PIO, and I understand that, but I do want to congratulate him. And he got to spend a little time with his great grandmother, my bonus mom, Dolores, before she passed. And I'm really glad that happened in the last 10 days of her hospice. And so first responders, and it's interesting, he's so humble. And I do want to, the reason why I brought this up is, they have this, I saved this house, but I couldn't save that house. And so no matter what they do, it's like it wasn't enough, because people are like, well, you didn't save my house. And they can be very, emotional about it. So I just want to have that moment of love and respect and gratitude for all those who put their lives on the line, sir, in our national service, in the local service, to honor them in what they do. I mean, we don't put our lives on the line every day, right?
Right.
So yeah. All right, let's go to the bottom of the bottom. What do you like about yourself, James? And I do this because we want to exercise your muscle so that you're not so self-critical and being your own worst critic and saying, who done me wrong or why am I wrong? Instead, we want you to celebrate who you are and like who you are 88% of the time. And that, my friends, is my belief system, my BS about good mental health. So that's why we do this. And James didn't like doing this when we first started doing this, but I'm glad to say that honestly, every single co-host of mine did not like this at the beginning. Well, maybe Dr. Tiffany too. She's kind of like me, but I'm glad that you like it now. Well, maybe not like it, but you'll do it.
Right.
And yeah. What do you like about yourself, James?
First, I want to just expand on that for our listeners. I feel like in our society, we are so programmed, we consider it honorable to seek out areas in our life where we need improvement, and then to set goals and to try to improve upon those things. And that is valued, and humility is valued, as it should be. And I don't think that taking time to talk about what you like about yourself is in any way in conflict with being a humble person. I think it is a good exercise in a little bit it's an exercise in balance, maybe even deprogramming this, focus, this hyper fixation on everything that you're not good at and trying to get better at it. Sometimes, not sometimes, I'm going to say always, it's important to know what your strengths are, because I think the most successful people can look at themselves objectively and say, hey, I am really good at this. And they're just as good at owning that as they are at owning, what they're not good at. Because when you're really good at something, I feel like it's important to lean into those strengths, because that's how you maximize, your impact on this world, your positive impact. And, there's books about like the 4-hour work week, and they talk about figure out what you're really good at and focus on those things, outsource the rest. For example, if you make $50 an hour doing task A, and something else costs $40 an hour, but it's a weakness of yours, go pay somebody to do it, because it might take that person an hour to do it, whereas it might take you 4 hours to do it. And you'd be better off paying them $40 than missing out on the opportunity of making 200. So from a very practical standpoint, I want to highly encourage everybody to do this exercise. And I think one thing that I like about myself, this came up recently, is I found out that I did wrong by a friend, and he was right. I owned it, and I said, I'm sorry. And it was a tough pill to swallow, but I think it's important to own it when you mess up, say sorry when you mean it, mean what you say and say what you mean, and then try to do better. But I think it's important to, allow space and be the kind of person that people feel like they can come to you and say, hey, I got a bone to pick with you, and then be okay, be able to handle it and process it, and thank them even for coming to you with it. So I think I'm pretty good at that, even though it's never a fun experience to learn that or hear that. And I am grateful that I have become good at that. And I think that only happens if you allow yourself a little grace to say, you know what, I'm not perfect. Sometimes I am not the best version of myself. And, it gives you a chance, yes, for improvement, but also to strengthen the relationships with the people that you love and care about. So,
yeah, absolutely. I was just looking for my moose. I think the moose for a moose on the table drop, because that's so important. I've been learning that myself. I guess it must be in the air. And I do hate apologizing, and I'm a recovering perfectionist. But what James is talking about for me as well, I learned this from a friend. It's called a carefrontation. So whether you are, balancing out, as you said, whether you're the one who needs to own their side of the street, so to speak, or have someone else own that side of the street. And that's a new thing for me too. I don't know which show it was this week. I was just talking about moving from what I used to do, which is, well, if I look like you, I'd be miserable too. To as a, when someone comes at me, to, assessing, is this someone I, want to have a relationship with? And if it is, the first thing is, can I give them some grace? Because 88% of the time I'm fabulous and 12% of the time I'm not. And so maybe they're in their 12%. Or if I want to have a relationship with them, can I give them some information about how to better connect with me, which I think is the definition of feedback. People think feedback is I'm criticizing you or I'm picking a bone. Don't touch my bone. Picking a bone with me about something that is me. And if you don't like it, goodbye, right? That's just who I am. But if I turn around and look at it as you're saying, if you want to connect with me, your friend was saying, if you would like, I want to have a relationship. I want to be able to connect with you. But when you do this, it's difficult for me to do that. So if we can see criticism and feedback that way, there's another show here, then we can be better at owning our stuff. And it's the older we get too, even though I'm #ageless, it's tougher because you get more set in your ways and you think that everybody should think the way you do or appreciate you the way you are because you're not going to change. But truly, it is, I think of all the billionaires who on their deathbed said, I wish I had paid more attention to my relationships. That's the common theme. And that's what we're talking about. But we digress.
Well, I actually know that this is good stuff because I think it's at the core of healthy relationships. And, when someone comes to me with a carefrontation, as you called it, for me, the focus is not primarily on, is this somebody whose opinion matters to me? My focus is more on, I think everybody's feelings are valid. Now, I'm not responsible for their feelings. I'm responsible for my actions, but I do believe that everybody is entitled to their feelings, and I believe that everyone's feelings are valid. When it comes to assessing their issue with me, I look at it and I'm like, is this the first time I've ever heard it? Or is this something that's popped up multiple times in my life from other people? Because that's a big sign that you need to do the work if you want to be the best version of yourself. Now, if it's the first time anybody's ever said it to you and it was an extenuating circumstance, you can say, okay, maybe it's not a me thing, but I do value this person and I'm going to try and treat them in the way they want to be treated. By the way, I believe that's the platinum rule. The golden rule, I don't think, if you want to be really strong in relationships, it's not good enough. The golden rule, saying treat others the way you want to be treated, that actually shows, in my opinion, a lack of the empathy that we're capable of. If you really want to be strong in relationships, I believe that you have to take the time to really try and understand someone else first and say, well, how do they want to be treated? And if it's compatible with who you are, and if this person is special to you, I think it's totally worth the extra lift to try and live by the platinum rule, I'm going to say.
Yeah. Now, the golden rule, for those of you who don't know what that is, if you were born in a different age, it's he who has the most gold rules.
Well, that's
I'm just kidding.
Some
that
folks
is
in office might look at it.
Yeah,
not to get political, but hey,
yes.
it's just out there,
Yes. But it actually, do unto others as you would want them to do unto you is the traditional one. Platinum costs more than gold. It's a little more difficult to treat others as they want to be treated because that implies or requires that you actually put aside your rights and your principles and look at maybe they have a different opinion, or maybe they grew up in a different definition of what respect is. Maybe they don't enjoy being touched or hugged or, complimented the way you think they should. All of that. It's funny that you should mention that because I use that in my diversity consulting and I love that field, and I haven't done it in a while. I'm going to put it out there because I do enjoy doing that. I was one of the first consultants in Los Angeles to introduce diversity. And I'll never forget, we were up in Fresno with the top C-suite executives at First Interstate Bank. I can say that now because they're no longer a bank. And I walked in to 12 white male executives with their arms crossed, sitting around a conference room trying to talk to them about valuing diversity. And I'm very proud of myself. It took 44 minutes. And all of them had uncrossed their arms except one. So that was a huge, because I gave the business and the business value proposition of value and diversity, and they weren't expecting that. I didn't even touch the morality of it. So yeah, but absolutely. And
I'm going to disagree with one part of what you said about
okay.
what it takes to implement the platinum rule. I don't think it requires giving up your rights and your principles to treat somebody else the way that they want to be treated. I don't think the two are mutually exclusive.
I
I
agree
think,
with you, but
oh,
there are
because you,
people who don't agree with you. I agree with you on that.
yeah.
It's not that difficult, but the majority of the people that I've worked with in this field will disagree with it. It's tough. It's
No,
really
I'm going to say it's tough, but
yes.
it's not tough because you have to give up rights and principles to treat others the way that they want to be treated. You can be fully authentic and true to your value system and protect your rights and still ask for all the same things that you want from somebody else. It's tough because it requires a level of understanding and empathy that makes you externalize your focus instead of being obsessed with what do they think of me? What do I want? What do I, getting ready to segue here, what do I need? You start to think, well, what did they need? And can I still be authentically myself and give that to them? It just might take a slight shift rather than having to give up anything fundamental to who you are or what you value. But that act of externalizing the focus and putting it on somebody else, that is incredibly difficult. But I also think it's a very healthy exercise because when you ruminate too much on yourself, it's good to be aware of your feelings, but not to ruminate on them and have like an endless feedback loop of, thought, reaction, feeling, thought, reaction. Put the focus out there. And for me, when I learned that, it was a tremendous source of peace. At times in my life when everything else has been completely chaotic and unstable, personal training became my favorite thing in the world to do. Because to be good at it, you've got to put all your attention on the other person for 1 hour, and your sole objective is to help them achieve something important to them. And by completely checking out for me for an hour, I came out of that feeling completely refreshed, like my slate had just, like the chalkboard had been wiped clean, and now I can take a deep breath and do me in a better way instead of feeling like I'm fighting myself and dealing with parts of myself that maybe need to be brought in line.
And that's the agreement. That's
Yeah.
you're agreeing with my point. Is it's not easy to do that.
Not
It's
at all.
great. It's great. That's why I said it's more expensive because
Yes.
it is advanced humankind course, right? Emphasis on the kind. All right. I think that should be the end of our breakfast. We're 3 minutes beyond the maximum that we usually allow, but we're happy that we got to talk at you about a related topic for the topic of the day. I would encourage you to do the external gratitude first thing in the morning when you wake up instead of MS scrolling, because you will definitely not be grateful when you look at what's on the headlines. And then at the end of the day, when you go to bed, instead of thinking about who done me wrong or how I'm not good enough or not worthy, to remember that you are loving, lovable, loved, that you have unique quality, gifts, and abilities that you can point out, and that you also can care about other people instead of always looking for how they have erred you. And that's it for breakfast. Thanks for joining us this morning. You can join me every weekday morning for the past, next week will be 672 consecutive weeks, and we can have breakfast and you can sandwich your day in the most positive way. Thanks for joining us for breakfast. And now for the topic of the day. Everything is awesome. James, what are we talking about and why?
One word says it all. Today we are talking about neediness and some of the things that encompasses for those that are listening and want to chime in the chat and contribute. it we're going to talk about it from two at least two perspectives. There is what you need from people in a relationship, and what are the things that are okay, acceptable, and even healthy to need, versus what are things that maybe you shouldn't need, request, or require from a partner in a relationship. The other point of view is, when somebody needs things from you. I think sometimes we can find neediness annoying, but what things that people are saying they need from us are reasonable requests, and which are things that maybe point to a red flag saying, you know what, this person, maybe they're not ready to be in a relationship because, they need me to, do 4 cartwheels, light myself on fire, shoot myself out of a cannon, and then do a somersault. You know what I mean? And the why is interesting. Sometimes when Dr. Marissa asks me to come up with the topic, I'll be thinking about something from my own life. I can't pinpoint a single reason that this popped into my head, but it did. It literally fell out of the ether and it was like, ooh, we should talk about this. It really did.
Well, I can't stop laughing because our last get together with Pilar, shout out, peace in, peace out. I know I see eyeballs in the cashew gallery. Welcome. If you're not driving, please do chat in and let us say hello to you. I know it's not Pilar because she doesn't get up this early, only for the show. But the last time we had a wonderful meal together, it was it was very apparent, and this doesn't have to be a romantic thing. You have a certain balance in conversation, you have a certain balance in relationships, and when one person takes more airtime than anyone else, or when their desires or needs or wants it's just them, that would be a qualifier for neediness. And so I was laughing because it was like, yeah, I think that may be why it fell out of the ethers. It did for me.
Yeah, maybe that was influenced by our text conversation leading up to the topic.
Yes. Hi, Trails. So good to see you. Thanks for joining us. And I'm sure in your line of work, you meet no one that you could label as needy. But that's our topic for today. It's an interesting one. I don't think I've ever talked about neediness as a topic. I don't ever remember hearing anybody show talk about neediness. So I'm glad that we are doing that. And I'm going to balance. Yes, thank you, James. Okay. We haven't done this for you. Self-acknowledgement and self-affirmation are a good thing, even though we're told when we're growing up, don't toot your own horn. That's another thing that I'd like to, stop doing. If you don't toot your own horn, like it's okay for guys most of the time at work to toot their own horn. And that's one of the reasons why women maybe don't advance the way that they could, is because we don't give each other accolades the way guys do. So I want to acknowledge your topic choice as a good one.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Are there any good things about neediness? And that's the balance part of me. I have recently realized that in this whole preparation for the celebration of life for my bonus mom, in my own, her last words were, take care of dad, to me. And I want to be a support for my bonus sisters, and I want to certainly be a support for him. And just a couple days ago, I hit a wall and realized that I had broken my own rule of neediness in a good way, that putting the oxygen on my face before giving it to someone else. And I found myself just like really broken and unable to, I realized I had done this to myself, that I could have reached out. There are people around me who have offered, to lean on them. And I have this habit of, I got this, I'm here for you, So there is that balance that if you're a caretaker, if you're codependent, if you're a recovering codependent like I am, and I hate practicing what I teach, is to check in with yourself. It's not a bad thing to say, right now, I need some space. Right now, I need some quiet. Right now, I can't respond to you. Right now, I would like to just tune out and not get involved in this or whatever that is. So I'll hit that balance point there for you.
I think that's great. I mean, I think that, boundaries, and sometimes it's okay to lay out boundaries when you have certain needs of your own. Regarding, needy, because neediness is a word as far as relationships go that I think is almost universally thought of as negative. However, there are times when need between partners can be a really beautiful thing. For example, let's say, a partner just needs some emotional support, like brutal time at work, or a really tough time with a friend, or let's say your partner struggles with depression or anxiety. It's mental health is such an important thing, and so many people, especially during and post COVID, and still struggle with it, that if you can be a pillar of support, I mean, it's in the wedding vows that you take when people get married. I think that is very loving and helpful. And I think it's okay and good to need support from your partner, during tough times. And I think that when the other person acquiesces, it builds and strengthens a bond. So I think that is one, area of positivity. And I think, feeling needy in a relationship, needing something from your partner, can teach you things about yourself. It can teach you what you expect and need in relationships, what maybe are your non-negotiables. If you feel like some fundamental needs are constantly going unmet, that can help you identify potential incompatibility. So, it can be feeling needy of your partner can be a helpful tool. And then also, if you have that desperate kind of neediness, and, especially as I've been younger, when I was younger in relationships and dating, some of the things that I would need.
You're talking like 40, a 9-year-old guy.
Some of the things that I would need, I think, were more a reflection on work that I needed to do. So depending on how that neediness makes you feel, how your needs make you feel, if it's an anxious, angsty, like I have to get it from them or else, that's often a sign that you're not okay with you, at least with some aspect of your life or the way you conduct yourself in relationship. And I think that can be very illuminating on self-work that needs to be done. So I think in all those things that we just said, that's what people, I think, don't think about, how neediness can be a very helpful, useful tool. And it can also be a way to build and forge a stronger bond with your partner. So I think it's good that we started with the unexpected side of neediness in relationship.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do we have time? We need to take a break, but I've just found a 5-minute free attachment style quiz to explore how childhood conditioning manifests in your adult relationships, specifically for neediness.
Fascinating. I think we've got 25 minutes left.
All right,
I think that would be a fun thing to go through with our listeners.
That sounds good. We're going to take a quick break for traffic news and weather and a word from our sponsor today. Don't go away. We'll be right back in 2 and 2. It's all about balance. Peace in, peace out.
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pei.
And we're back. You're tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, NBC News Radio, home to the Asian Oprah, number one talk in the IE. Thank you very much. And streaming everywhere, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and of course, my YouTube TV channel, which if you hit the free subscribe, that'll help me out when eyeballs are on me for numbers, even though I hate that part of it. It is what it is. But you also get access to all of my playlists, my 1,380 whatever shows, and then my red carpet playlist with my interviews with Halle Berry, John Travolta, and beloved Quincy Jones, and more. So that is there for you. What is our topic today? You know, it's from the good-looking guy live in studio. It is time for Straight Talk with myself and
James Hawthorn, Dodgers fan extraordinaire.
and my Dodgers concierge. And we're talking about neediness. And I found this very quick. Hopefully this is true. The last time I tried to do a quiz, it was a disaster. And I want to get that taste out of my mouth. So start the quiz. Can you see it?
Yes, I'm going to increase the size.
Okay. Secure, anxious, avoidant, disorganized. So I don't know. It said neediness. Well, what the heck? We're here. What's your current single? I'm ageless. So you just turned 40. We'll make it this.
No, I'm not 41 to 50. Come on, girl. Don't give me
You
that.
you just turned 40.
31 to 40, not 41 to 51.
I'm sorry. I didn't
I'm not
realize it
sensitive
had
about
a.
it. I'm just busting your chops.
United States government. Man, are you non-binary?
I'm a man.
Okay. Do you have children? No.
Not that I know of.
Okay. Not in this state, right?
Right.
I usually discuss my problems and concerns with this person.
Oh, are we going to do this for you or for me?
You.
Oh, for me. Okay, that's right, because we did it. I strongly agree.
Okay. I don't feel comfortable opening up to this person. Oh, wait. Let's see. A relationship with your mother.
Oh, okay. Strongly disagree.
I usually discuss. I'm afraid this person may abandon me.
Strongly disagree.
Yeah, this may be not. You know what? I'm going to stop this now. This is not actually what we're talking about today.
We're going.
Abort.
Looking at the
abort. We tried.
Yeah, it's a little specific.
Yeah,
going back to,
and you have a great relationship with your mom, and I love your mom. And I'm very fortunate. I have two moms. One just passed, but yeah. So okay, let's go back to neediness. I'm going to give you an example, and this is not a romantic relationship. This is a recent and former. So do you ever meet people who it's all about them and they like dominate the conversation? They keep turning the conversation back to them. I'm remembering this woman that will remain nameless, but this is in my teenage years. And this is when I first recognized how annoyed I can be. And maybe it's reverse selfishness, but like she would top everything I said. And there was not one experience that I could have that she didn't have a better story, a better, experience, a better win. And it was just a constant, and it was so annoying. And we were in the choir together. And we actually were in a trio together. We sang together. Hopefully nobody is still from that long time ago. And that would ring my neediness. It's like, man, she's so needy. She has to have the attention. Another example is cars or trucks that cut you off or try to race you or have really loud exhausts or really flashy, expensive cars, and I'll say, obviously, they're not getting enough attention at home. They're needing to be, lauded out in public and ooh, whatever. So for me, neediness is a negative thing. It's about egomaniacs with an inferiority complex. So
Now, I want to say that yes, it might be, but keeping the conversation on need rather than summarily saying egomaniac with inferiority complex, what is there if they are behaving in such a way where they always have to top you? Oh, you did this, well, I did this, or the conversation is always them. What is their need? I think their need would be validation. So they're probably not doing the exercise on the bottom of the bun where they're talking about what they're good at each day. And going back to the quiz that we aborted because it was very specific, maybe the parental figures that were supposed to give them validation as young children weren't so good at that, so they're constantly seeking it externally. And when you frame it in that way, it doesn't make it okay. You have every right to still be annoyed by it. I know I am when I'm posed with that. But it does give you an opportunity to give them some grace by if you can identify from their behavior what their fundamental need is that they're lacking. You can say, oh, okay, this person is just here on their journey and they need to work a little more on self-validation. And sometimes as a partner, you can, give them some of that, but not like, all of it. It's not all on you, to do that. And so that's kind of the balance. Sometimes when somebody needs something, it's not that heavy of a lift to give it to them and you can help them grow. Like, yin and yang in relationships. Sometimes in a relationship, one partner might be really good at X, Y, and Z, and another's good at A, B, and C, and they can help each other with the things that they're not so talented and good at. And that's kind of like, when I think of a power couple, I don't think fame and celebrity. I think a power couple is when people can complement each other and together they can take on the world in a more successful way, than they could on their own. So in that regard, having weaknesses and that person needing some help and you being able to do that as a loving partner can be great. Now, on the flip side, I've had non-romantic relationship. I've had a roommate who would need this, need that, need a favor. I like helping people when I can, but when you constantly feel like you're being asked to help somebody with every single deficiency, it makes me feel like saying, take some responsibility for your life. And at a certain time, you realize that if you continue to help them and acquiesce to their needs, you're actually enabling ineptitude. You are enabling their ineptitude. And sometimes a little tough love will help them get what they need. They might want you to help them, but what they need is to solve their own needs on their own. And it can be really annoying, like you said. It feels like, people can be like an energy vampire when they're failing to take responsibility for their needs. And they're constantly asking you to pick up the slack. So, that's both sides of that coin right there.
It's all about balance. That's why I'm known for it. That's why, people go, well, your brand is hope and happiness. And I say, yes, but my original brand, the name of the show, because they were saying, why don't you change the name of your show to Get Happy? Is because balance is the key, right? If you want, what's underlying claiming your birthright to happiness is having a balanced understanding of everything, of people, places, and things, of life itself. So that balanced dance, right? Where, when to hold, when to fold. That's why I have an issue with Jerry Maguire. As much as I love Tom Cruise, you complete me speaks to that. I'm not enough in and of myself. I need your validation to complete, or need your approval, which is why we do the bottom of the bun, right? So we're not walking around looking for approval and validation to feel complete. So it's so neediness And I'll say 80% of neediness is in the traditional way we're defining it is not healthy, is not, it's a symptom that something's missing, right?
Right.
Not like I need a hand every once in a while. Actually, probably I fall into that uh not good habit of thinking I can do everything myself, right?
Right.
That's my, I'll own that. And I hate it that I have to practice what I teach. So I am on that other side of I need to be more okay with asking for something or help or support. Uh, and I'll be honest, it came out of I couldn't do that because that would see me as imperfect and wanting and not self-sufficient and not strong and not, and I took that to too much of an extreme, so that it's like I don't need anything from you. So leave me alone. F you. I'm going to go live on a desert island.
Now, there's something beautifully humble. We talked about too much humility gets in the way of you loving yourself, but there's something beautifully humble about having the strength to say, I am not good at this and I need help. I want to get better and I believe you can help me do it. It fosters an opportunity for collaboration, cooperation. I think it brings people closer together, not just in romantic relationships. So I think being able to go hat in hand and humbly say, I would really like your help in this. I want to improve. Can we work together on this? I think that can be a very, beautiful thing. Now, I totally agree with you. Too much neediness is definitely an unhealthy thing, and it's a negative. And I think it's negative because we get that icky feeling when you feel like someone's an energy vampire draining you. But just the right amount, of not maybe neediness, but of needing something from someone can foster, like I said, a more loving, supportive relationship, can allow personal growth, and it allows us to coexist. I mean, you go back to the very beginning of mankind, and we when we were nomadic, peoples, we had to find ways to address each other's needs and get along, because if you didn't, you got left behind and you died in the wilderness, right? And then we learned about, like, you have your hunters, you have your gatherers. We as a community came together and said, what do we all need for us to survive in this hostile environment? Well, I'm good at growing and planting seeds, and I'm good at going out in the woods and bringing back the meat, or whatever it might be. It's a very simple way of saying it, but I don't think we would have modern society without people recognizing what the collective needed, having the selflessness and the humility. Now, back then it was out of necessity, but in our first world, right, it's no longer a necessity. That's why I think neediness is so nuanced now, because it really takes a sharp mind and an acute awareness of yourself to know where that line is of what needs are helpful and healthful and which are not. I'm going to put mine out there right now. I need my romantic partner to be open in communication. I have friends and have had romantic partners that expect me to read their mind. And at times, if I'm really busy, stressed, or overwhelmed, I'm not as good at practicing the platinum rule and being able to intuit what they need. And they will resent me for it instead of communicating to me what they need. I'm like, well, just tell me. I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to make that shift, that adjustment, that change in priority. But I need people to verbally communicate with me what they need, or I believe that my relationship with them will ultimately fail. There's probably some room for improvement in there on my side, but that for me is a non-negotiable need in romantic relationships.
Well, I think the responsibility sometimes, though, is going way back and making that connection with what you were talking about in feedback. And is it something that I need to change myself, or is it the other person? If you're known as a person who doesn't let someone communicate, I'll just go to that extreme, where when people do try to communicate with you, you shut them down, interrupt them, or are so, it's my, hold on, let me finish, right? If I hear that like 4 times, that tells me, one, I have to look at that. Am I interrupting them? Am I, but then recently I had that happen. But the problem is I let them. And then when it was my turn, I couldn't finish because they kept coming back at me. And it's like, wait a minute, this isn't, I was silent for you. And now it doesn't. So then I decided that, that's the best that she could do. And there was, I just know now that I'm not going to try to have a conversation until, she comes to me and says, you know what, I've realized whatever, and it may never happen, but I'm not going to put myself in front of someone anymore who clearly doesn't want to hear what I want to say on my side. And this is that balance, James. You may want to have someone communicate with you, and I may want to have it, but if they're incapable of doing that, it is time to separate. I've learned that in my neediness stuff too, that I'm not ever going to have good relationships with everyone. It's not possible. And that I can give myself some grace and space for people who are not easy for me to mesh with. For whatever reason, I can love them from afar. And that's a new thing for me. I used to be either you're in or you're out, right? But I'm working on being in, but in, 10,000 feet away or 100 feet away, just not like in the close splatter zone of something that is not comfortable for me. And that's okay. That's okay for me. So I have the triple rule, a triple run or a triple play. It's if 3 different people tell you 3 different times the same thing that is something that you do or are have a habit around, that is the same feedback, then it is something for you to look at and to change, right?
Yes, I agree. Like all things in relationships, it always comes back to compatibility. And compatibility, I believe, is rooted in knowing and having the courage to be that authentic person that you are, because then everything is bouncing off of an honest, open, pure sense of self, and it's easier to identify the kinds of people you want to be with. So somebody's needs of you might be compatible with what you have to offer. Their needs might not feel like they're leeching off of you and being an energy vampire. Their needs might be something you can readily provide and are joyful to give. But other people's needs might be something that just drives you nuts, or it might be something that you feel like, look, I'm not that kind of person that can give that to you. You need all this love and attention, and I'm more like, I'm not as much of a touchy-feely person. And if that's just the way you are, you might not be a good fit for that individual, for example. Going back to, communication and just deciding that, if this person's always saying, let me finish. I think an admirable goal for everyone is to be someone that is easy to communicate with. I think that's a good goal for us all to strive for. You want people to feel like they can come up to you, tell you what's on their mind, that they feel like you are a safe harbor, that you're not going to shut them down. My dad always says that God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth, and we should use them in that proportion.
Absolutely. I have a question for you. Actually, it's something that just dawned on me, and it's advice on this whole match thing. So I swiped with a guy that it was one of the best conversations I've ever had over the phone. with any potential date, right? And matched on just about everything. It was one of the very few I was excited about having another conversation with him. And then and this has happened maybe 3 times in my life. And so then that's who I share. I told my best friend, I told my daughter, sent them the pictures and all of that. Hi, Leo. I like the idea of relationship contract Dr. Pat had. Welcome. Good to see you, Leo. He loved the 2 interviews I did with Dr. Pat Allen. So that's what he's referring to, the relationship contract. And you can say exactly what that is, because I'm more familiar with the Abraham Hicks law of attraction relationship contract, which is, I like you so far, let's see how it goes.
Mhm.
That's, the lease with the option to buy. But so James, I thought it was a great conversation. And then he said, you're very smart, you're very articulate, and I just don't feel like we're a match. And I was like so confused. First, I was like, F you, unmatch. But now that we're talking, I do remember saying this when he was talking about, I don't want to stereotype, but I do enjoy, my last relationship was in China with a woman there. And I said, hey, if you're saying, I've always wanted to date an Asian woman, I won't cook for you, I'm not going to clean for you, and I'm only going to walk on your back with high heels on. That's a standard response that I have. And now thinking back, because his response was, well, I do really enjoy that cultural part of helpfulness that seems to be dominant in Asian cultures. And because I couldn't figure out what it was, if you liked me so much. And now I'm thinking, yeah, that could have. And he's a very successful, all those, things that I love, right? So is it okay, or is it not a match? And this would take a huge step in my ego and pride to actually go back and say, I've been reflecting, and maybe that statement was a little strong, because I do know that I'm a caring person and that I will cook for you, and I won't clean for you, but I love cooking, and I want, I do have that. I am a strong woman, but I have that part. Do you think it's worth texting him that?
No, I don't.
Oh,
I
okay.
think it points to put a need on a moose on the
Moose on the
table.
table. Yeah.
It's a need that you have for validation, because what he said to you was a very flat, short, succinct rejection, and that hurts. And I think that getting the need to explain yourself, why? Because are you trying to get him to say I'm wrong so you get validated, or are you trying to have him say, you know what, I think I was hasty. Do you need the affirmation? I believe if somebody says you're not for me, I say, okay, on to the next. And I think that would leave you healthier and happier. In my having done what you're thinking about doing. I've done that,
Okay.
and it doesn't bring me any peace.
Okay. Thank you. And as you're talking, I'm like, what are you, crazy? It's just not a match. I think the only reason why I'm doing it is because it's been a long time since I've, clearly successful, clearly and humbly so, like, and it's anyways, but I you're absolutely right. It's not a match. And my ego was engaged, and it was like one of the very few times that I've actually and we're out of time. So
well, and your hope, it's healthy to have hope. You're like, I hope this is the one, and it's hard to let go of hope, which is very human.
It's all about balance. Peace in, peace out. World peace through, inner peace. Thanks so much for joining us for Straight Talk with myself and
James Hawthorn. Thank you,
now
everyone.
go and have the best weekend ever. I'll see you Monday.